Hey there, Dan Martell here, serial entrepreneur, investor, and creator of SaaS Academy. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to exchange your startup equity for services so that you can bring on developers, biz dev people, other folks creating things for your startup by exchanging equity in your business. And be sure to stay all the way to the end where I teach you how to get access, or I show you how to get access to my fundraising like a pro training, where I'm going to teach you the 3 phases of fundraising for you to crush your next round. So maybe you're starting off and you've got way too many things you got to get done and you don't have enough moolah to make it happen. Well, I'm going to teach you a very simple thinking process and framework for you to exchange equity in your startup for output or services or work. And I remember I was building, I had an idea. I was in San Francisco. This was about 5 years ago. And this is probably the most relevant example, is I was thinking of co-creating this software. It was called Velvet. It was a SaaS metrics tool. Essentially, you installed it and would give you this whole dashboard of SaaS metrics that you would need. So it was just a really simple, in Ruby, it was a gem that you would install, and it would make it just a beautiful admin dashboard for your metrics. And I found a partner that was super capable. They were very well known. And I knew the founder well in this agency, this development shop, and I wanted them to build it. So we kind of spec'd out the product and all the different features and what the MVP would look like and what we would go kind of to market with the first version. And they came back and they said, hey, this is amazing. We want to be your partner, but we're going to want 40% of the total startup equity. And I'm like, okay. I appreciate the excitement for the project, but 40% to build the first version that could go on. Eventually I was going to raise venture capital, build a team around it, and scale it up. It just felt a little rich. So all I shared with him is the same framework I'm going to teach you guys today, which is let's just look at the real economics of this. If I were to pay you, what would it cost me? If we were to convert that dollar amount into equity, what would that percentage be? And we need to make sure we're directionally accurate on that math, or this thing doesn't make any sense. So what I'm going to teach you today in this video is the 4 steps that you need to go through to make sure that you exchange equity for services in a way that's win-win for both parties. Step 1, set a valuation. When you're starting off and you're negotiating some services for equity, the first thing you need to do is figure out what is the fair market value for your startup. And it could be at the idea stage. It could be at some pre-sales. It could be a little further along. It could even be revenue generating, and you want to bring maybe some biz dev support to help you grow up. The reality is valuations are 100% arbitrary, meaning that you can decide. You can, I always call it like the Kool-Aid. You can sell the Kool-Aid as sweet as it is before you actually get somebody to exchange $1 for real valuation. So in the early days, look around your market and ask yourself, if you're building a tech startup, then $1 million is not crazy to just set a valuation right out of the get-go. Or even, let's call it $500,000. If it's at the idea stage, maybe you have this marketing site and some pre-sales, it could be $500,000. But whatever it is just set it. I've seen some people set it as high as, $4 million. It's like, look, yes, it's early stage, but we've got a team, we've got a track record, we've got customers lined up, we've got pre-sales. This thing's going to get going. The valuation is a lot further along than $500,000 or $1 million. But the first thing you need to do when you're negotiating with a vendor to provide some services or somebody to do some work is to figure out what the valuation of the business is today. Number 2, quantify the work. If you're going to be engaging somebody to do work for you, maybe it's to write code to build the first version, you got to just ask them, what would this cost me to get built if we weren't talking about equity? If I were just to engage you and have you, submit a proposal, what would that number be that we write down that I could just write you a check for? Because the truth is at the end of the day, you're giving up equity, which to me has got a lot of value. In the long term, 0.5%, 1% of something that could be worth $100 million is a big deal. And you don't want to be too loosey-goosey with just giving that to people for whatever. So asking somebody what the work would be worth, and then just thinking to yourself, well, you know what, do I really want to give them the equity, or do I want to just pay them because I can go raise money once I've got this prototype and I'll just pay them. So That's the way I think about it, is like, let's just quantify the work. What are they building? How much is it going to cost me right out of the gate? And then that way, we at least know what number essentially they're investing into the business for in-kind services. Number 3, give it a bump. So if they are, doing the work, and let's say it's $100,000 worth of development or marketing support or whatever it is, then to me it's higher risk. Because like if I give you a $100,000 check, that's a totally different scenario than if I give you $100,000 worth of consulting hours or services or whatever it is. So to me, there's a higher level of risk. So what I suggest is give it a bump. So if you know that it's super early stage and it's super high risk, meaning you haven't raised any money yet from other external investors, then maybe give it a 30, 40, 50% bump. Okay, and this is a negotiation. You could just say, look, maybe the person doesn't know. So they're like, okay, well, normally this costs $100,000. Like, great, we're going to give you $100,000 worth of equity. This is the valuation. So here's the percentage that you would get once you're completed the work. And if they're happy with it, then don't give them the bump. But maybe they say, well, geez, this is super high risk. And, I would feel better if maybe, we did it at a higher valuation than what I would normally get paid, because that's a real dollar that I'm not getting paid that I'm giving you. So maybe, the number is a little bit higher. So number 3 is really just give it a bump so that everybody feels like it's win-win. Number 4, allocate the equity. So now that you've got the valuation set for the startup, you've quantified the work, and you've got the bump added to it, some kind of multiple kind of enhancer, then it's really to allocate it using some kind of legal framework. Okay, and I'm not a lawyer. I do not play one on the internet, on the YouTubes. So you're going to have to work with a startup lawyer. I will say this, there is enough in today's world, okay, and trust me, when I started off building tech startups and venture-backed companies, there was no best practices, templates, docs. Those exist today. If you just search startup fundraising documents or seed round documents or legal fundraising startup templates, you will find a ton that you can use, and you'll find some incredible lawyers that you can reach out to. But the key at this point is to actually get it put in writing. And what I would do is do it in releases. If they're developing code and their normal invoice cycle is every 2 weeks, I would release the equity every 2 weeks. I would not allocate it straight out. I would do it as per the work is getting done, in case, which is sometimes what happens, they totally miss the mark and the code doesn't work, and all of a sudden now, if you've allocated it all up front and the work isn't even done, then you've got no leverage to hold them accountable to it. So you want to make sure that you set the allocation in proportion to the work being done, and that's how you make it all work. So 4 steps for exchanging services for equity in your startup. Number 1, set a valuation to use as the price of your startup so far. 2, quantify the work being done so we know the number that we're exchanging it for. 3, give it a bump, maybe, if they're negotiating right, so that they feel like it's win-win. And 4, allocate the equity in proportion to the work being done. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I want to share an incredible resource called the Fundraising Like a Pro training. You can click the link below in the description to download or to get access to that. Essentially, in it, I break down the fundraising process into 3 distinct phases. The first one is the most important. It's called the pre-marketing. You don't want to miss how to do that properly, because if you do, you'll get a 98% confirmation rate for meeting with new investors. Here's the big idea behind this whole training: is investors don't want to hear from you. They want to be introduced to you. So you can click the link below to get access to that. And if you like this video, be sure to click the like button. Just smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel. If there's anybody that you care about that you think this could serve, feel free to share it with them directly. And as per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business. I'll see you next Monday. We can have lots of fun. Step 2, 2, 2. There's so much we can do. Step 3, 3, 3.